All right, let's just get right into it. For what? Decades, we've all been sold this idea that intelligence is just one single number, a score you get on a test that basically defines your entire potential. But what cognitive science is showing us is a much, much deeper truth. It turns out there isn't just one way to be smart. In fact, there are five. And getting a handle on that fifth one gives you what is almost an unfair advantage in life. So let's kick things off with the one question that's been at the center of this whole debate for years. When you think about someone being smart, are you really just picturing one single skill that can be boiled down to a number from a test? Well, the answer, to put it simply, is a huge no. Intelligence is so much more than that. It's multidimensional. You've got people who can solve crazy complex equations, others who can move entire crowds with just their words, and some who can read a room's emotions flawlessly. But beyond all of these, there's a fifth type of intelligence, one that's hardly ever discussed, but it just might be the most powerful of them all. Okay, so before we jump into the really rare one, let's quickly break down the four dimensions of intelligence that most of us are already kind of familiar with. First up is logical-analytical IQ. Now, this is the classic IQ that everybody thinks of, right? It's all about seeing patterns, using math and logic, and thinking abstractly. Our entire school system, from the SATs to college applications, is basically a giant machine built to find and reward this specific kind of intelligence. But it's only one piece of the puzzle. Then you've got verbal linguistic IQ. For people who are strong here, language isn't just for talking, it's their main tool for understanding the world. They literally think in words. They can explain super complex ideas so easily, and they can pick up on all the little hidden meanings in what people say. We're talking about great writers, incredible public speakers, natural-born storytellers. Our third dimension is spatial visual IQ. This is the ability to think completely in images, to see complex things in your mind's eye before they even exist. Think about an architect, a graphic designer, or an engineer who can mentally spin a 3D object around in their head and see exactly how it will work with perfect clarity. And number 4, emotional IQ, or EQ, as you've probably heard it called. This is that really powerful ability to not only understand and manage your own emotions, but also to recognize and influence the emotions of other people. It's a massive factor in things like leadership and just building great relationships. But here's the surprise. As important as EQ is, it's still not the rarest form of intelligence. And that brings us to the fifth one. This is by far the rarest form of intelligence out there, and it's the one that gives you the ultimate mental advantage. It's called metacognitive IQ. So what is it? At its core, it is the ability to think about your own thinking. Now, this isn't just daydreaming. It's an active, conscious process of stepping outside of your own mind and looking at how it operates, almost like a mechanic looking at an engine. This quote just says it all perfectly. Every single one of us thinks. We have thousands of thoughts every single day. But the number of people who actually stop, take a step back, and analyze how and why they're thinking those thoughts, that number is incredibly small. And that's what makes this so rare. So what does it really mean to audit your own brain? Sounds a little technical, but let's look at how it actually works in the real world. This comparison really gets to the heart of it. See, most of us run on default thinking. We just blindly trust our first thought, we react on impulse, and our emotions are in charge. But someone with metacognitive thinking operates differently. They question their assumptions, they analyze their reactions instead of just having them, and they observe their emotions instead of being controlled by them. It's the difference between being a passenger in your own head and actually being the one in the driver's seat. Now, here's the crucial part. This is a skill you can actually develop. It's not easy, but it boils down to a 3-step process. Step 1, you have to constantly question your own assumptions. Always ask, what if I'm totally wrong about this? Step 2, you have to actively monitor your internal biases. We all have them. The key is just knowing they're there. And step 3, you have to be willing to update your beliefs when new, better information comes along. And as you start practicing this, you start to develop 3 really powerful traits. First, this profound self-awareness of what's going on inside your own head. Then, intellectual humility, which is really just being okay with the idea that you don't have all the answers. And finally, cognitive flexibility, that mental agility to change your thinking as the world changes around you. So this brings us to what is, honestly, the most empowering idea of all. You actually get to choose your intellectual superpower. So, We've walked through these 5 different ways of being smart, from the logical to the emotional, and all the way to the metacognitive. Each one represents a totally unique and valuable way of seeing and interacting with the world. And this might be the most important takeaway from our whole conversation. Intelligence is not some fixed, rigid thing you're born with and then stuck with for life. While sure, you might have some natural strengths, every single one of these dimensions can be worked on and strengthened over time. You are not defined by a single number. So the real question isn't, how high is my IQ? The question I want to leave you with is this. Looking at these 5 dimensions, which type of intelligence do you choose to start developing on purpose starting today? The choice is completely yours.